Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name's Emma Lefebvre, and today we're going to be talking about the color wheel. More specifically, the difference between our red, blue, and yellow color wheel versus the CMY color wheel, which is cyan, magenta, and yellow. Now, before we go any further, I know people get really passionate about color theory and the color wheel and what's right and what's wrong, but that is not my approach to today's video. The whole point of today's video is to show you the differences and to give you more opportunities of mixing different colors that maybe you didn't think you could mix. So that is the point of the video. There is no right, there is no wrong. That is not what we are debating. We are simply experimenting, and I am showing you two different ways to mix colors to make two different color wheels. Practicing these two is going to give you so many more opportunities to mix colors, and I really want you to take this exercise as something that is just fun. So with that said, let's jump into today's video and get started. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the color wheel and a little bit of a controversial topic about the color wheel. So as we know, our traditional color wheel, we have red, yellow, and blue to mix every other color in our color palette. But there's another version of the color wheel, which some people find a little bit controversial. Some people get really passionate about it. And that's the cyan, magenta, and yellow color wheel. And the reason why I wanted to do both today and show you the difference is not to say one is right and one is wrong. I know some people say that traditionally the cyan, magenta, and yellow color wheel are used specifically for printing or something like that, but I wanted to show you both and paint both with you today so you guys can see the options you have when it comes to mixing your paints, because while the red, blue, and yellow color wheel works wonderfully to mix other colors, there's a different array of colors that you can get using cyan, magenta, and yellow. So I wanted to show you both versions today. I hope you'll join me because it's a lot of fun, and color mixing is just a great tool to have and a skill to build. So why not just join me today and do that? So that is what we are doing. So if you have any negative comments about what's right and what's wrong, just know we are doing this for the purpose of just learning to mix colors and seeing what we can make. What I was taught in school with the red, yellow, and blue color wheel is that those three primary colors are just colors that cannot be mixed by any other colors. Those are just the colors. You cannot mix two other colors to make a red or a blue or a yellow. And today you're going to see that that is false and why it is false. So let's start with our traditional color wheel, doing our red, blue, and yellow just for fun so we can get used to mixing those colors again, because there's no such thing as too much practice. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do before we get started is making your color wheel. So I know it's really hard to see because I'm doing it in a light pencil, but I am just tracing the outer bit of my tape, and then I am cutting my wheel into 12 different slices. So go down and then across, and then try and do 3 little sections in between. Okay, so start by doing that. Okay, so I don't have every specific primary color in my palette. I'm going to go as close as I can, and I actually don't have cyan. And cyan, if you don't know, is like this kind of like really light turquoisey blue almost color. You can always look it up. So I'm going to try and make that with 2 colors that I have. But first, like I said, let's go through our regular color wheel. I do have a video on making a color wheel. So if you would like to watch that again, you can do that, or you can just watch this one. I'm just putting yellow all over my palette just so I can mix it. I don't know why I just rinsed off my brush. Okay, so put your first color, which I am using cadmium yellow today. I think this is cadmium yellow pale. And I'm going to place it in one of my spots. I have made a color wheel that has 12 slices. And I'm just placing my yellow, like I said at the beginning, in one of those slices, okay? Then I am going to take some red, and for my red, I'm going to be using Winsor red, and I'm going to skip 3, and I'm going to place it on the 4th. So there should be 3 spots in between. Now a good idea also is to kind of switch up the value just to see the range of value you can get with a color. So I'm going to make it all kind of like a light red, and then I'm going to make it a little bit darker towards the edge. Should have done that with the yellow too, but I didn't. There, I've lifted some of the yellow. All right, and then lastly, we're going to use our blue. And for my blue, I think I'm going to go with my Winsor blue. Now there's two Winsor blues in the Winsor Newton palette, and there's a red shade and a green shade. I would have liked the red shade, but the one I was given was a green shade, so I'm just going to use that. Again, changing up the shade or the hue of your color. So if you're using like an ultramarine blue or a turquoise, is going to change the outcome of your color mixes. So I honestly suggest just doing a bunch of different color wheels with different versions of your color. Try it with a turquoise and a lemon yellow and, you know, a pink or something like that as your red. Just try it different ways because they're all going to end up a little bit different. Okay, so there are our three primary colors. Okay, so next we are going to be mixing our secondary colors using these three primary colors. So I'm going to take my primary blue, we're just going to call it a primary blue, and I'm going to mix it half and half with my yellow, put it in between the two of them, and we should have a green. Now again, depending on the blue you're using, you're going to get a different green. If I was to use ultramarine green, or if I were to use an ultramarine blue, I would have a different shade of green here. Ultramarine is a bit more warm, so that would add a bit more red into our mix, which might not make it as vibrant as this green is. So keep that in mind. But because this Winsor blue is a green shade of blue, it's going to make a nicer, more vibrant green. Okay. Now let's mix our blue and our red. This is another big mixture that can sometimes work, sometimes not, depending on the hue of your color. Purple is one of the more difficult colors to mix because there are so many different versions of it. If you want a little more in depth of reasons why, I do have a video on warm and cool colors, and that is completely why you get different versions of your mixtures. So if you look at this mixture of purple, it doesn't really seem purple, right? That's because the red and the blue I'm using to mix have a different bias on the color they want to mix. This red is a bit more on the warmer side where it wants to mix like an orange, and the blue is more on the green side, which it wants to mix a green. So when they're kind of going opposite ways, they don't make the best mixture. But when we do the cyan, magenta, and yellow, you're going to see a big difference in this mixture. Okay, so there's our purple. It's not great. And then lastly, we're going to mix our orange. Okay, so now we have our primary colors and we have our secondary colors. And the spots in between are for our tertiary colors. So make sure that these colors are all dry before you put them in, just so they don't bleed into one another. Okay, so now let's make our tertiary colors, and you get a tertiary color by mixing a primary color with its secondary color. So I'm going to add a bit more of my yellow to our green mixture here, and you can see we get this really nice green yellow. And that is one of our tertiary colors. So I've also had a question about when people are mixing tertiary colors, sometimes it doesn't seem as dark or as vibrant. And I just say add more paint. So if you see, I lifted a bit of yellow from here to there. So there's not as much like saturated paint in those mixing wells. You can always just pick up a bit more paint. So I'm just going to lay this down first. I'm trying to make it lighter, closer to the center, just to get a different value of it. Then I'm going to pick up more. You can even go right into your color again. And to get that darker value, you just need to add more paint to your brush. So there is our yellow green, and now we're going to mix our blue green by adding more blue to that mixture. Now let's make our bluish purple. So I'm going to add more blue to our purple mixture over here so it's darker. This actually makes a beautiful indigo color. Then we're going to mix our red purple by adding more red to our purple mixture. Then we're going to mix our red orange color by mixing more red into our orange mixture here. And then our last color would be our yellow orange, just by mixing a bit more of that yellow into our orange mixture. And there we go. We have our traditional color wheel. So we know all this, but now let's get to mixing our fun cyan, magenta, and yellow color wheel. Okay, so for the color cyan, it's hard to explain. It's not quite this like turquoisey color. It has a little bit more of a blue to it. It's hard. It's like a sky blue. I've never really come across a paint color that says cyan, but I feel like this is the closest. So this is what we're going to go with for our cyan mixture. I'm just going to add a little bit of cobalt blue just to blue it up a little bit. It's not that bright. And then I am going to grab my magenta. I have this magenta here. I think it's quinacridone magenta from my Winsor Newton palette. I don't use it all that often. And then we have our yellow. So I actually might try a different yellow here. I have this lemon yellow, and we might try that because those are very vibrant colors and it's going to produce a different outcome. So let's start by placing our primary colors in first. So I just have magenta on my paintbrush already, so I'm just going to lay that in. And this is a substitute kind of for our red. Okay, so there's our magenta. Let's grab our cyan. Remember, 3 spaces in between, and place it in. Okay, there's that color. Now let's grab some of our lemon yellow, which is super vibrant. And now we get to the fun part, the mixing. Okay, this is gonna kind of blow your mind. So as we were taught in grade school, yellow, blue, and red are our primary colors. No other colors can be mixed to make those. Well, they can be. If you mix magenta, so let's grab more of my magenta, half and half with our yellow, guess what color you can make? Red. You can make red. I always thought there was no way you can make red. That red was just a primary color because this is what I was taught. Red is just a primary color. There's no way you can mix red. Now it is a little bit more on the orangey side when you do half and half, but you'll see when we do our tertiary colors that it can be a nice darker red if you add more magenta. So let's place that in there. Did you guys know you can mix colors to make red? I found this out a few years ago and I was like blown away. I was like, you can't make red. Red is just a primary color. You can't make it. You can. You can make red. I just proved it there. Okay, and it's almost exactly the same as my Winsor red right there. And then we have cyan and yellow here. And then we have our cyan and magenta here. Can you guess what color that's going to make? Half and half. Now you're going to think purple, right? If you add it properly half and half, it makes blue. It makes like a purpley blue, but it makes blue. Look at this. Look at this stunning blue. Already in this color wheel, we are getting colors that we weren't even close to achieving there. Okay, and then lastly, our cyan and yellow. Let's add our yellow to our cyan right here. And look at this like neon green we get. I feel like we need a bit more of that. Look at this thing. It's like super, super vibrant. So if you're looking for really bright colors, this might be the color wheel for you. Okay, so now before we mix our tertiary colors, let's make sure this is completely dry. Okay, so let's start here with our tertiary color. So we made the color red. Now we just want to add a bit more magenta to this. So this is going to make a darker, more reddish, pinkish color. Okay, and then the next mix, we are going to take our red color and just add more yellow. So I'm just going to take a lot more yellow here. And we get orange. So that is a tertiary color in this color wheel. Okay, the next we're going to make our yellow green by adding more yellow to our green mixture. This makes it even brighter if that's possible. Lime green. This is crazy. Look how bright that is. It's like a yellow green, like a golden yellow green. And then we're going to mix our bluish green. There we go. And mix it over here so it's more on the cyan color side. And we just get a darker kind of almost like a teal, like that. Then let's make more of our darkish blue color. So I'm going to grab this. Again, grab a bit more of that. Just make it more blue. And then lastly, we're going to add our magenta, and we're going to make a gorgeous purple. Look at this purple. Look at this purple. And there we go. There is our CMY color wheel versus our traditional red, blue, and yellow color wheel. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Now remember, I know people get really passionate about color theory and the color wheel. I'm not saying that one is right, one is wrong, or one is only used for this and that. I basically just wanted to show you that there are different options to mixing and how to look at the color wheel and how to achieve brighter colors, like a purple, for instance, because I know purple is probably one of the hardest colors to mix to get what you want. But this kind of just shows you that if you use a pink and a blue instead of a red and blue, you're going to get a far more vibrant purple. So I really hope this was a little lesson that you guys enjoyed. It was fun. And be nice to each other and just enjoy painting with lots of different colors. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram and all my other platforms for tons more content. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.